I'm Larry Ray, President and CEO of American Manganese, Inc., listed on the TSX Venture, ticker symbol AMY, A-M-Y, with proprietary patents in the U.S., China, and South Africa. Our focus is on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. China recently legislated the responsibility for recycling onto their electric vehicle manufacturers and importers. For more information, please visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Gerald Celente, director of the Trends Journal Research Institute and publisher of the TrendsJournal.com. Welcome to the show, Gerald.
Oh, thanks for having me on, Jim.
The latest edition is out. What do you think is going to happen in the U.S. election?
Well, we made a forecast last year in our Spring Trends Journal. And we said that if the election were held then, considering who she was running against, Hillary Clinton, would be the winner. And that's the way we see it. And again, we're political atheists. Here's what we wrote. If the election were held today and Hillary Clinton survives the cash influence scandal, we forecast Clinton as the winner. On issues of gay rights, women's rights, and abortion, Cruz, Paul, Rubio, Carson, Fiorina, and Huckabee will find weak support among a sizable portion of women voters. With all the candidates, including Clinton, on the same war page, and none presenting strong or unique economic policies to truly create jobs and increase wages, what separates Clinton from the guys is the girls. And we go on to show that in the 2008 presidential election, 70.4 million women cast ballots versus 60.7 million men. And when you go back to the 2012 race, Obama won over 12% of the women vote over Romney. So we wrote this before Trump became a contestant in the presidential reality show. And while he has strong support, he has, we think, unreversible anti-women negative poll ratings because of the things that he said over the last several weeks. And be considering that more women vote than men, and Trump's negative popularity rate is at 73%, we don't think he's going to be able to overcome that when the election heats up. So we think the White House is going to be a Clinton-Sanders White House, because we don't see Sanders winning the nomination, but what he's effectively done is he picked up where Obama left off in bringing in the liberal Democratic diehards and the millennial voters. Matter of fact, Sanders is even using a very similar campaign slogan that rang throughout the country in 2008, and that was Obama's "Change You Can Believe In." And Sanders is a future to believe in. So what Sanders has done, he's brought in that progressive, so-called progressive liberal element of the Democratic Party, and also he is a counterbalance to Hillary's pro-war stance, and also she has a pretty high negative popularity rating overall. It's down, people look at her with negative rating about 52%. But what's missing in the context here that people don't, and they brush aside, is that really, although Sanders keeps talking about, I voted against the Iraq War, what he fails to say is he voted to fund it and fund virtually every military budget. He supported Bill Clinton's bombing campaigns that rang throughout Iraq when Clinton was president. He supported Clinton's sanctions against Iraq that killed over 500,000 Iraqi children under the age of 5, according to the UN. He supported Clinton's Yugoslav war. He supported the United States overthrow of Ukraine's government. He supports Obama's Syrian policy and co-sponsored the Senate resolution for Gaddafi to stand down and for a no-fly zone. However, having said that, his core constituency doesn't want to hear it or will vehemently deny it. So the facts aren't important in the presidential reality show, only performance is. So as the performance is going on, we see it as a Clinton-Sanders White House in 2016.
Trump apparently has decided the way to make the Mexicans pay for his so-called wall is to cut off emails sending money back home to Mexico from immigrants. Is this just another harebrained scheme from Trump?
Of course it is. And, as we were talking, earlier off air, and you pointed out that, look at the drugs that are running back and forth over the country. And how about between the two countries? How about all the people? They're going to stop emails? It's childish. But again, it's not going to happen. Before Trump said that he was going to make Mexico pay for it because of the balance of trade. So now he's making up a new scam. If I'm elected, I'll put a wall up against Canada too. How about that? And I'll make the Canadians pay for it. It's just campaign talk.
Well, you know how he's talked about Mexicans are evil, horrible people. The Trump Tower being built in Vancouver, a large number of Mexican construction workers were on it. By the way, they're all legal migrants or legal workers in Canada. And they hung a huge Mexican flag on the Trump Tower to remind him that his empire is being built by Mexicans.
Well, again, this is just campaign rhetoric. And what he's doing is you stir up certain constituencies to get their vote. And that's what he's doing now. And then after they win the nomination, they tend to level out. I know this because I used to, out of graduate school, I used to run political campaigns in Westchester County in New York, which is the richest county in the United States. It's right north of New York City. Bronxville, Scarsdale, all those richy places. I was so good at it, they sent me up to Albany, and I was the assistant to the Secretary of the New York State Senate. And I designed and instructed American politics and campaign technology at St. John's University. So I know a thing or two about how to run a campaign. And what they do is during the primary season, they go to the edges to bring in that hardcore constituency that's the ones that get you the vote to get the nomination. Once the election starts, they level out. So for example, you heard Obama, when he was candidate Obama, going up to the Rust Belt and saying that we had to revisit NAFTA. And then when the election began, he backtracked on that after he got the nomination, as he backtracked Barack on just about everything he promised. And now, as a matter of fact, he's shoving down our throat the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and which, by the way, has nothing to do with trade. It has to do with our losing our rights and multinationals having the power over sovereign nations and states. So that's what Trump is doing. He's playing to the edges. If he gets the nomination, he levels out.
When you say playing to the edges, we would call it the lunatic fringe.
Well, yeah. Again, the lunatic fringe on both ends, because the other ones believe the hypocrisy on the liberal end, and then they don't want to hear it. They do not want to hear that it should be Bernie Sanders should be for BS. They won't call him out on it. So it's a lunatic fringe on both ends. Just different lunatics. And then what they do is they cover up and won't admit they've been conned. So that's all it is.
If Bernie is vice president, do you think the U.S. would adopt a socialized government health care system?
Vice presidents count for nothing. Look at Biden. You only see he goes around smiling and posing. Now they have no power.
Well, they do tend to show up on comedy and talk shows.
Yeah. Yep. So, it's different, for example, when you had a Reagan-Bush White House. That was a different story. Because let's not forget that Bush was the head of the CIA. And there was a whole other agenda going on. And he was very much involved in a number of, matter of fact, as soon as Bush, as soon as Bush got elected, now everybody's talking about these Panama Papers. He overthrew the dictator of Panama, Noriega. And Noriega was on the CIA payroll when Bush Sr. was the head of the CIA. And now I'm wondering, what any of that had to do with what's going on now with these Panama Papers. Because really all they are showing, they're doing the same thing individuals are doing, the corporations are doing, going to these offshore tax havens. But now it's showing how the leaders are connected to these things, and how different influential people in countries are also washing money, just like the corporations do. So I guess they have to hide their bribes and payoffs somewhere. So I'm wondering if Bush's overthrow of Noriega had anything to do with this scheme going on. And by the way, they're only looking at the results of one law firm. Think of all the other ones involved there. So this is only a leak from one law firm. Could you imagine the depth of this when it involves the other ones that are washing money as well? So the system is set up really for just we the little people to obey the law, pay taxes, and be good boys and girls, as the big criminals call presidents, prime ministers, and chancellors, and senators of this and that, and parliamentary members get a free ride.
Aren't the rules and laws set up that way?
Yeah, because it's a neo-feudal society where you have different laws for the filthy rich and the economic nobility and the political insiders, and separate rules for the workers in Slavelandia.
We'll have more with Gerald Celente right after the break.
I'm Larry Ray, President and CEO of American Manganese, Inc., listed on the TSX Venture, ticker symbol AMY, A-M-Y, with proprietary patents in the U.S., China, and South Africa. Our focus is on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. China recently legislated the responsibility for recycling onto their electric vehicle manufacturers and importers. For more information, please visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Unbelievable harmony, spectacular performance, the ultimate tribute to the Everly Brothers and Simon & Garfunkel. Bird Dog and the Vintage Electric Band coming to Mission, White Rock, West Vancouver. Buy online and save at ontourtickets.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Gerald Celente. Gerald, why isn't the mainstream media mentioning much about the Ted Cruz sex scandal?
Who's the mainstream media? You have 6 corporations control 90% of the media. And, Ted Cruz right now is the Republican favorite, the establishment party favorite. So my suspicion is that they want to keep him clean. And, when I mentioned this, about you asked why the media, look what they're doing. They're running the debates. You have 6 corporations running the debates. They ask the questions. They set the stage. This isn't democracy. It's fascism. It's the merger of state and corporate powers. The corporations are running the debates in the United States, period, paragraph. And they turned it into a game show, the presidential reality show. You hear this little Anderson Cooper shoot his mouth off saying, and now we'll be back to the main event. That's what they call it. One after another. Cavuto, everyone. Jumping out these stupid little questions, and you have 90 seconds to answer the question and 60 seconds to respond. Oh yeah, here's my foreign policy in 60 seconds. So when you're asking why the media isn't, there is no media. There's no more fourth estate. I mean, the facts are there. And when you see all the pundits they have, they're all paid. They're all paid, whether it's an issue of politics or an issue of terrorism. They're all paid by the media. They're not bringing in outside free voices. They work for the stations. The networks.
Is that why when we get these big scoops now that come out of places like Germany or Panama?
Yeah, because look, in the United States, the major newspapers, with the exception of very few, are owned by private equity groups. And it's all aggregated content, meaning that if you have a newspaper in Kingston, New York, the local newspaper, or you have one in Sacramento, California, owned by the same company, you'll have maybe 6 local stories, and when you open it up, it's all exactly the same. It's exactly the same newspaper. And maybe they have it all centralized in Houston. Hiring kids out of college, paying them nothing to, put the thing together. There's no press anymore. As I said, oh, by the way, the reason this has happened, you could thank Slick Willie Clinton for that one, when he deregulated the Federal Communications Act in 1996. It was illegal for a company, for example. This isn't exactly the way it is, but just to make the point. If you own, say, a newspaper, you couldn't own a radio station and a TV station in the same area. So there were very strict restrictions against monopolizing the print media and the broadcast media. But Clinton killed that. Why do you think they pay this clown $300,000 an hour to shoot his mouth off at a Goldman Sachs conference or anybody else's? You can hear him BS for free. It's called paybacks. He deregulated the Glass-Steagall Act that gives the bankers all, and the Derivatives Act that causes all these financial crises. You like those GMOs? Thank Bill Clinton. Maybe you like bovine growth hormones better. That's what I was saying to you about. You said the lunatic fringe on one end, the Democratic liberals on the other one will turn a deaf ear to it and bend over and take it. I could go on and on with this guy. Look at the drug ads they have in the United States. That's Bill Clinton. He deregulated that in 1997, one after another.
In Canada, those ads aren't allowed. They do run ads, but they can't promote what they do. They hint. But they can't tell you, go to your doctor and get it.
No, that was Bill Clinton. They weren't banned. They weren't allowed. And look at the drug problems we have in the United States. Kids are whacking out on heroin. Everybody knows somebody. I was just with a woman last night whose sister. You hear it all the time. You either hear they're addicted or dead. Because the doctors are now prescribing all of these opiates. As part of it, the other part is the society's declining and kids have no future. They don't talk about that much. Because they talk about job creation, but they don't talk about the jobs that are being created. You're losing, 29,000 jobs in manufacturing and 54,000 jobs in becoming a waiter, bartender, or a waitress. So that people have no hope. And you're a young kid and you see no future in front of you. Drugs look good.
It also doesn't help if you're facing a $100,000 student loan bill.
Could you imagine that? Could you imagine being a young person in your early 20s and facing that kind of debt? And what are you going to get a job doing what? You graduated from nothing college somewhere? Or nothing university? And you have a degree in what? Gender studies, history, business administration, marketing? Give me a break.
Well, your business administration degree might get you a job, but the other one certainly won't.
Yeah, even the business administration, if you don't have something where it's a specialty and you're coming from a high-end college, your chances are slim. If you have an accounting or something like that, maybe you got a shot at something. But, it's Harvard, Princeton, Yale, bullets, bombs, and banks. If you're not a member of that club, you're not getting a job in any of those fields.
Will fallout from the U.S. election hurt the U.S. dollar?
Not really. It's just be more of the same. The only thing that could really change it is Trump gets in, But that might even be a positive. And actually, Cruz, he's in favor of, the gold standard, which is very ironic. And, that might be a positive for America. So, I don't think it'll change much at all. It'll be more of the same.
If Trump doesn't win the Republican nomination, will he run as an independent?
I doubt it, because if he does, he knows that Hillary wins hands down.
Can you see Trump and Hillary facing down in some kind of a debate forum?
It's possible, yeah. It could be. Again, we'll have to see what happens with the primaries still going on. And but it would be, Trump just throws out one-liners. You read his, I read the text, and he repeats the same word 3 times, which is, rather than saying you say amazing, amazing, amazing. Rather than saying duh, 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 you say that's great, that's great, that's great. So his vocabulary is very limited. His thought process doesn't really expand beyond just a soundbite. So, but he would call her out, I believe, and probably be quite successful at it, considering that he takes a very different stand on her on a number of issues, whether it's foreign policy issues or on the trade, and that's going to be a big one against Clinton, because of course NAFTA was brought to us by Bill Clinton.
Is Trump almost a plant to maybe make the other Republican candidates look good?
I don't think so. I think he's just who he is. The guy's been trying to get in there for a while, and there's a guy born on third base and thought he hit a home run. He has a lot of money, and it's just a presidential reality show, and he's just a contestant in it, and he's a reality show champion. So I don't think there's any hidden agenda. I think what you see is what it is and why it is. I mean, if Trump wasn't in there, it probably would have been Jeb Bush. And Jeb Bush against Clinton would have gone nowhere anyway.
What's your impression of Canada's new Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau?
I think he's not much of, I look at him like another Obama. And, I don't see much, really positive change coming from there at all.
I know environmentalists are disappointed that he's in favor of LNG and pipelines.
Well, there you go. And when he was a candidate, he played a different game, I would assume.
Yes, he did.
And that's what they do. That's why I say he's another Obama. By the way, when you saw him here in the States, they really chummed it up together. So again, another guy, who would know this guy if his father, wasn't who he was? He'd be a nobody nowhere.
Well, Nixon predicted when Trudeau, I think, was about 3 or 5 months old that he would be the next future Prime Minister of Canada. Maybe that's the only accurate prediction that Nixon ever had.
Well, again, as I said, it's a club. Like I said, when we were talking about before about getting a degree in business administration. Yeah, if you come from Harvard, Princeton, or Yale, then it means something. It's the same club. Look what we're doing. We're talking about the American election. I got to hear another Clinton. You know how tired I am as Clintons? The guy disgusted me when he was running, and I got to hear his wife and him. I got to hear more Bushes. It's a club. It's the same thing in Canada. Every now and then you get a stray cat, but they're the same old dogs.
Gerald, is there something in the Trends Journal that people should be aware of that could be the next sneaky thing for the rest of us, but you knew about?
Well, yeah, there's a lot, actually. And that's, we write history before it happens. Look what's we're going into, it's a global recession. You saw it with the Fed statements last week. There's no recovery going on. And you can see it, they keep talking about, the groups meeting, and they're going to cut back on or hold production of oil where it is, and the prices fluctuate from, $25 to $40 a barrel, $26 to $40 a barrel. It means nothing. It's supply and demand issues. And there's a global slowdown. Our greatest fear is what's going on in the Middle East and with the migrant crisis. And this could be a lead into a great war. When I say great, meaning like a great world war. Not great because it's good. As a matter of fact, the words shouldn't even go together. So, and just another the last war, I would call it, because this will be the war that Einstein warned us when asked how will the Third World War be fought. He said, I don't know what weapons will be used, but I do know they'll be using sticks and stones to fight the Fourth World War. So this migrant crisis has a lot of really, really dire implications. And again, no one's talking about who caused it. It couldn't be because that Peace Prize winner Obama destroyed functioning Syria, along with Harper was on to that game, as well as Cameron and Sarkozy, and Clinton, of course, Hillary. And then, of course, look what they did to Iraq. Canada's part of that one, too. Over 1 million people dead, destroyed the place. I mean, you think you create radicalism when everybody you love is dead? Your country's destroyed and you have no future and you have occupying forces? Oh, I forgot about Afghanistan. It's one after another. So that's the big one to us. And also a looming financial crisis. So it's really important to look at the events for what they are, not the way you want them to be, and don't buy into the political propaganda. So that's what the Trends Journal does. And there's a lot of other information. There's positive things happening too. It doesn't have to go in this direction. And you can see, again, by looking at the Trump and Sanders campaign, how desperate people are for a new direction. So if someone of morality ran, a statesman rather than a politician, a philosopher rather than a businessman or a lawyer, maybe we can have some real positive change.
Gerald, how can people get the Trends Journal?
Trendsresearch.com, trendsresearch.com, and besides the Trends Journal, of course, we do Trends in the News broadcasts each weekday night, Trend Alerts each week, and a Trends Monthly.
Gerald, thank you very much for talking with us.
Thank you, Jim. All the best.
My guest has been Gerald Celente, publisher of the TrendsJournal.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com Radio. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. If you have any comments about the show, you can email them to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com Radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com Radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.